Broken Blade had a tough game on the top side, but it just didn't end up mattering because Caps really made the game about himself, his advantage, and he was everywhere on the map. That is, to me, Caps at his best, is when he is so active, when he's just non-stop making plays.
I very much agree. BLG once again first pick here going into this game. We have exactly the same bans as we did in game one, and Pantheon will be the lock for Shen.
So side lane threat, early game action. Xin Zhao is something that SkewMond will often use as an answer. Sometimes we see the Vi. But what interesting thing has happened in the series now is with both Nami and Lulu already gone, remember that things like Ashe Seraphine rise in power, but again, the Ashe has been banned. And then with Lulu Corki, now no longer an option. And then also Yunara Lulu, no longer an option. So how does the bot lane dynamic change as Bard is going to be the lock-in and it's going to be another range support for Labrov?
And I think it makes a lot of sense, right? You've been having so much success for your bot lane 2v2s against these two LCK teams. Continue to really emphasize that. Bard has a good laning phase, and you can be active on the map. And I think it's also a good takeaway from On. His Bard game yesterday was stellar, so it's a denial pick. It gets you a winning 2v2. SkewMond going to go to his Mundo, which I'm really starting to associate with him more and more and more. And I think they're pretty much set up for success early with these couple picks.
Going for Mundo early, though, means that there are ways to draft around it. It can be good into the Pantheon matchup, of course. But Ezreal is another thing to think about for G2, because they want to have a champion that can play safe. And it seems that BLG have a similar read and want to deny that pick away from G2.
I mean, one of the things I like is that because Pantheon was first pick, Mundo feels more safe, since Trundle is one of the things that you're always really scared of, right? But it's like, unless you're going to go Pantheon support and go really cook,
it's On. It's On. He can do these things. Like,
I believe in Shen support more than the Pantheon.
I agree with you there. I do think it's more likely to be Shen support. On has brought that out a couple of times through the LPL playoffs and through the LPL regular season.
And against G2, it's a double whammy, because not only do you lock in Shen support to have more of a global presence, but you take it away from Broken Blade in the series as well.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I'm a big Shen enjoyer. I love playing Shen on champions that have global, semi-globals, because you just go along for the ride. Pantheon flies into that back line with the Grand Starfall. All of a sudden, 2 members spawn in on the enemy AD carry, and you're looking for that type of hard engage, that type of play. But that being said, Bard can answer that. It is very telegraphed. You see a massive graphic coming up, when Pantheon is ulting in, and you can sometimes use that Bard ult to preempt the play to stop that engage that's coming through.
Move into the second phase, and you have to imagine again, like Ahri, very important champion in the context of this series. You don't want to give Ahri to Knight in this situation. Pantheon plus Ahri.
In any situation,
Knight had a quiet game one. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to have a quiet series. The focus was very much
an LPL fan, you do want to give it to him.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So with the Mel ban, it looks like G2 is fishing for an Ahri themselves. They're very clearly saying, hey, you know what? If you don't ban it away, we're going to pick it this time around. We want to take it away from you. We want that extra bit of mobility, and Mel is seen as often that go-to answer into Ahri especially.
And Mel is just super popular in the LPL in general. That league, more so than any other, really did like this pick quite a lot. So
it's also been surprisingly successful. I kind of underrated the pick coming into the tournament, but she's been very effective. Going to be banned away. Renekton once again. They don't want to run the risk of giving Broken Blade that kind of option he's often leaned on domestically.
It's so interesting to me because, Xiaoshu to me is one of, if not the best Renekton players in the world, and they just played Zaahen into it and stomped him into the ground. So it is interesting to me to see them banning it out so much against BB.
I think there is an argument where they could stomp him into the ground because they could spend a lot of time towards that top side. And maybe BLG are saying, actually, we don't want to spend a lot of time ganking top. We're going to spend time around bot instead, because that's where SkewMond likes to go.
I think G2's got the right read in that they're banning it because they want Ambessa. And so it's just, Renekton is a really good answer into it. They don't want to allow Broken Blade to get that counter pick. And so I think it's very much preventative in the goal of getting the Ambessa, and G2 seems to have been on the read. The Jax ban, we haven't seen it much from Broken Blade, but last year it was one of his best performing champions, and BLG showcasing that respect on the top side.
It feels like Gwen might be what we're going towards, from one of these top laners here. I do think it can be quite strong, and some of the kind of common answers are already...
Could you just blind pick it, actually?
I think you totally could. And I mean, I feel like BLG is saying you're not going to do that. I wonder if Bin would just blind it here. I mean, I will say, though, Broken Blade is one of these top laners who will slam down crazy stuff, right? Like, he might bring out the Yasuo. The Yasuo is up. We did see him play Ignite Yasuo into the Gwen in the LEC, if I recall correctly. So that would be up and available, and I think Bin's going to do it, and I think Broken Blade is the kind of player who would slam the Yasuo as a response.
I'm just more shocked by this LeBlanc blind. Like, LeBlanc Mundo as a combo I don't love, like, at all. And also, like, I feel that Shen is a really good answer into LeBlanc because she's, like, very single target burst, which Shen just does a very good job of dealing with. It gives you a decent amount of mobility to potentially threaten an Ezreal, but...
just ignore it and get excited about the possibility of Yasuo.
I mean, it's also Caps LeBlanc. Like, this guy has a 70% win rate on this all time. It's his second most played, if I remember correctly.
Galio as well.
It's a hard
This
game.
is a good draft.
This is a great
BLG draft.
G2 knew what they were buying into.
It's harder than Shen.
It's not like
Wait
they
a second,
picked
it's harder
LeBlanc
than
really
this.
early. They know what they're playing into here.
Yeah.
And the question is, will we see anything really outlandish at the end? Because I was wondering perhaps the Mundo gets flexed towards the top lane into Gwen. It's not the easiest matchup, but there's going to be the Zaahen. Yeah. So it's probably going to be Mundo in the jungle with the Zaahen going top for
That is, I think, one of, if not the worst matchups for Mundo in the game. So unless Broken Blade just feels like giving him one for fun.
Some of them blind the block. Like G2 are doing
I mean, you could go
something here.
Jen top here against the Gwen. I think it might be all right.
I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised to see this LeBlanc come through. I don't love it in this context. I think the BLG's
Believe
answers,
in the Caps magic.
I mean,
Turn off your brain.
I believe that
Stop
BLG
analyzing
is,
things.
I've got to. BLG's draft, I think, is a really good answer. I like the side lane threats that they have with the Gwen. I think it's a really good call as well, Azael, that you had, where it's just like, Gwen based on the bans feels like a great blind. Like, you have to get, like, you're looking at an Akali counter pick or a potential Yasuo counter pick, right?
Spicy.
Like, exactly. So I think it was a great thing. I think it will outscale Zaahen too, so I don't even love the Zaahen as an answer. I mean, Broken Blade's got to feel confident in the matchup at the very least, otherwise he wouldn't pick it. But ultimately, I do like the global pressure that BLG have, and based on how skirmish heavy game one was, if we have the same sort of scrapping that we do, BLG's just going to have the ability to collapse first.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, though, if BLG get behind, they're going to be pretty low on damage, I think, you know, to actually kill the front line. You know, you have Ezreal. Ezreal's great, but you are looking at Ezreal Galio as your mid lane and your bot laner against a Mundo and a Zaahen. So if Zaahen gets ahead, if Mundo is having a good game, as we've seen SkewMond have so many good games on this champion, Ezreal is one of the worst tank killers there is. So to me, it becomes so important that Bin has a good game because Bin needs to be someone who can actually threaten these frontliners, who can threaten in the side lane. So I would really be thinking about attacking top lane if I'm Shen. And if you're SkewMond, you talk about how he really does like to go bot, but I feel like you need to make sure that Bin can't just take over this game.
BLG looking to invade around the red buff here. Shen is going to spot the fact that SkewMond started it. SkewMond will walk into the bush and spot the fact that Shen is there. SkewMond landing the cleaver, we'll get a bit of damage. Caps going in with a distortion to chunk out Knight, making sure that he can't move across. Labrov is moving first from the bottom side as we see Shen having to flash away.
This is going to hurt Hans Sama. He can't afford to lose these minions, so now On is getting involved in the skirmish.
There's Shen coming across, heal out from On as SkewMond is down to half HP. Cosmic Binding's going to land. Smite comes out from Shen, he secures the red buff, and now Labrov is going to have to flash the wall to get away with a blast cone. Great invade from BLG early on.
Yeah, that got incredibly close, though. I would love to see a replay because I think I saw 1 HP.
I think SkewMond smited and Shen didn't.
Yeah, he did smite early because he knows that Shen, with the empowered Q, if you let him set it up, is going to outsmite you every time. So you have to just flip it. You have to just say, you know what, all right, feels like now, and you just try to hope that you get it in that spot. But love the aggressive level 1s here. BLG tried it with Knight last game, didn't turn into anything. This time, it does end up working out. You want to keep SkewMond low on economy. If you're Shen and you're level 5 at 6 minutes, that's okay, as long as Mundo's level 5 at 6 minutes too.
Yep. Labrov now making his way into middle lane. Caps doesn't quite have the chains yet. 1 minion off of level 3. Now he's got it. But Knight getting that level up at the same time means he's going to feel pretty safe. I mean, credit to On, I feel, in that play. He really did save after Shen burnt his flash. It looked pretty scary for him, and now Hans Sama very isolated from the wave.
2 CS right now. Labrov is level 1 as he walks across. Does have the heal. Hans Sama had to use the cleanse in the bottom lane to escape On and Viper earlier on. On looking for the taunt, will land it. Viper there on the chase. Further as Labrov with a Cosmic Binding, doesn't land a stun. Valkyrie across from Hans Sama. Viper trying to survive, but Hans will get a 1-for-1 so far. On does have the flash. Hans Sama looking for the phosphorus bomb. Needs another auto. On flashes away, but SkewMond is coming down. On should be able to get away from this. Currently in that red buff bush. The question is, will SkewMond sneak him out? Lands the cleaver. On has the taunt, and SkewMond flashes to make sure that On can't get across the wall.
I mean, BLG, I feel like, just kind of overstepped in that spot. You know, yes, they're zoning him off completely. I don't think they needed to fully send it on this play.
I think choosing Labrov was the mistake. Yes, he's level 1, but a Bard at level 1 does basically nothing. If they'd invested these resources into Hans Summer, I think that this fight could have gone much more favorably for BLG. But instead, Hans, after being denied so much farm, ends up getting a kill, gains access to the wave, and now the G2 bot lane is kind of right back into this.
Yeah, they really are. And I mean, the reason they go for Labrov is because he has no flash, right? So if you taunt in as Shen at level 2 and Hans flashes it, you're cooked,
That's
right?
a good point.
So I think that's what they're thinking about. I will say, it's a pretty lazy recall. He could just walk to the Dragon Pit, taunt over the wall, and then I think he doesn't die. And SkewMond doesn't get that kill, and then you're pretty okay with everything that's happened. You go back, both AD carries have a kill, but you're up CS, not that bad. The fact that they donated that gold into SkewMond kind of ruins the whole level 1, which was the point. You know, you're trying to put Mundo down, you're trying to slow this guy because you know you're going to struggle to kill him later.
I think from his POV, he doesn't know how close SkewMond is, right? And so he's trying his best to out-mind game SkewMond, and SkewMond just does his due diligence. Shen now looking to contest. This time, though, SkewMond gets the Raptors. Cap's getting very dangerously low.
Yeah. Shen chasing in as well. SkewMond just emoting on him there, forcing him away. Labrov's only just hit level 2, by the way. Spent a lot of time outside the lane, now underneath the tower. No sums for Labrov. Hans Summer's cleanse about to come off cooldown.
You'll notice as well, Viper has a massive XP lead on Hans as well, just because of how much denial they got in the other game.
Look at the damage here onto Hans Summer. He's down to 300 HP and on, still very healthy. Shen is ready for the dive here. Hans has cleanse, has flash, picks up the Caretaker's talent. There's the Aegis Assault Valkyrie in from Hans Summer. Shen tanking the tower, only tanks a couple of shots. The spear still connects, the Cosmic Binding onto On, but now he can hold on for the damage. Tanks the tower perfectly. BLG though, Shen gonna tank a couple of shots, and Labrov will get one in response.
Gets a little bit messy there at the end of it, but honestly pretty well handled from BLG. At the end of the day, you don't really care that the Bard gets a kill there because you did kill off Hans. You're going to deny even more minions here. SkewMond, though, doing what he can, taking away camps on the top side, continuing to farm. He's up to level 5, has that slight XP advantage.
I was just about to say what a beautiful dive it was, and unfortunately Shen ends up falling at the very end of it. But watch this tower aggro management. They don't overstep just yet. Shen isn't committing the stun because he knows he has the cleanse. They're just using time. They manage the aggro well, then they go for the commit underneath. It's On that initially gets the tower aggro, but then the minions die. So Shen ends up getting tower aggro when he has no flash available until Labrov at the very least gets something back. But the damage is done. Hans is half a level behind. He's 400 gold behind as well.
It's so good from BLG because Hans getting ahead was the way that G2 were winning the last 6 games that they've won in a row, apart from the first one of this series. But against BFX, against Gen G, it was all about Hans Summer getting these leads in lane and then being able to carry the game alongside Labrov and SkewMond later on. Now BLG looking to punish him once again. Caps jumping in onto Knight. Down to 200 HP, but Knight able to walk his way away. Labrov and SkewMond are trying to get across here. No, the Krugs are down. Labrov, where's everyone waiting? Magical journey for Labrov, but perhaps more of a nightmare. Able to heal himself up a little bit as Hans Summer tries to trade back in. Exhaust out. There's the cleanse as well. Labrov down to 200 HP. SkewMond tanking up everyone with a maximum dosage. He has that level 6 because he stole away the top side, but a spear through his heart sends him back to the grave. In the mid lane, Caps was able to kill off Knight as it's a 1-for-1 across the map.
That looked like such a favorable fight for G2, as you highlighted, because of the level 6 from SkewMond, but the damage from Shen was devastating as he ends up turning the fight BLG's way. Meanwhile, we need a replay of mid, because I've seen that Caps was doing some stuff, but my goodness, Caps is locked in today.
What did I tell you, man? Just ignore, don't analyze, just believe in the magic.
I mean, what revenge for him, considering what Knight did to him in the last series, where he got 2 back-to-back solo kills, and now he gets a solo kill against Galio as well. Impressive stuff from Caps in the middle lane.
It's also, this whole tournament has not been about Caps. That's why G2's success here has been so shocking to a degree. Is Caps has had a couple of good games, but often he's been the struggling part on this team. And now for him in the finals, where he has been 0-6 the last 2 times he made it, to be able to get here and manage to have such a good performance against Knight is so strong. Hans Summer down to 500 HP, forced away by Viper and On.
I mean, a couple things we never got to talk about. The fact Viper is going to be playing Exhaust, and also the fact that Knight is playing Phase Rush, not Aftershock, right? So you're going to be a lot weaker in the 1v1 with the Phase Rush. The Phase Rush is a nod to the fact that it's mostly slows on the other side. You know, the Mundo slows and whatnot, so you can maybe engage, disengage. And Caps just goes between the towers, takes him down.
What? Oh. No, that was nice. But he changed the cannon. Okay, it was still really good.
We didn't need that replay. We didn't need that. We didn't.
That was still pretty slick, man. He solo killed between the towers.
That he did. Wasn't the cleanest, but hey, you're right. He did make it work. Viper now becoming the big threat once again, similar to what we saw in game 1. You can start to see in the top side as well, Bin starting to build a lead of his own as Han struggling in the 2v2.
Yeah, Caretaker's talent there used to heal him up just a little bit, but Viper on every opportunity just dashing forward, has the tier already stacked up to 160 and the Sheen complete.
Yeah, I mean, Knight is kind of just getting pounded right now in this 1v1. He needs to be able to stabilize. You don't want Caps to run away with like he did last game. You got to try to stay as even as you can, because I do think they have great compositional answers. You've got the taunt, you've got point and click CC from Shen, you've got a lot of different tools to punish Caps if he overextends at all, but you can't let him get too fed.
Grim Deliverance going in from Broken Blade, just an exchange of the needle work and that ultimate out of BB.
Yeah, one of the problems though in a lot of matchups against Gwen is, Gwen, it's the Shroud, right? It's how much value you can get from it. All of G2 coming in.
Caps going in for the Justice Punch, blocking Knight's escape. Knight doesn't have the flash, but he does have a hero's entrance, and there's not enough CC on the side of G2 to stop him from making that exit.
Quick reactions there from Knight to get out of a 3-man collapse. The problem with all these roams from Labrov is you are leaving Han somewhat isolated, and the more he's left alone, Viper is just taking advantage of this matchup. They've both got the tier, but much further stacked ahead for Viper. He's very accelerated, and you can just see in that bot lane that lead continue to grow. A 30 CS difference now between the two AD carries.
Kind of feels like Labrov just basically made the call that we're losing the 2v2 anyway, so maybe it's better to just roam and just try to have you just farm it out in the 1v1, which is always a tough judgment to make, but it does feel like he's saying, you know what, it's better if I just get active on the map, and we'll see when On gets level 6, that's another really big moment for this Shen, because you can really start to pressure the map, make a play top side, then still ult back bot, or, alt top and look for a play there.
Absolutely. I think that these level 6 marks are what I'm keeping my eyes on, because Labrov naturally going to be very delayed. He will get level 5 just now off this minion.
Yeah, one of the small benefits for Labrov is you do get some XP out of the chimes, as Shen is looking for Caps in the mid lane with the taunt going down. Shield vault in for the stun. Distortion away from Caps will get him to safety. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, SkewMond was looking for something. On going back in with the taunt. Going to get chased down by the cleavers. Has to burn the flash to get away.
I can see in the Coinbase gold grind there. Shen slightly ahead.
Well, Broken Blade just going in a 2v1. Shen went up with the Grand Starfall, and perhaps he just thought he couldn't get away.
Yeah, I think his play there was, if I can get on top of Shen, maybe I can get stack up my passive quickly enough so that I can get the regeneration, and if I get that up, then there's a world where I can outplay this, but immediately get stunned himself, and then the outplay comes through.
Yeah, it does look a little bit silly, but he's only a couple seconds away from the Grim Deliverance as well, so maybe hoping that, you can make a little magic happen there. It's a costly death, though, because that's no flash, no TP, and that has been farming plates, that has been in Shen ahead now, getting that significant advantage. And I talked about the importance of Bin in this comp. You don't have great Mundo killers. Gwen can definitely help to bridge that gap.
Magical journey in by SkewMond and Labrov as they look for Bin, who does still have the flash, puts down the Hallowed Mist. SkewMond still on the chase here, with the cleaver not connecting. Bin able to dash and skip and slash his way to safety.
This is nice, though. You force the flash, you force the ult, and you freeze the wave, because that was a very stacked wave that they're going to be able to give to BB.
All right, so BB went in for the 1v1, and then Grand Starfall immediately turns the tables.
Yeah, and so he's thinking about, how do I outplay this? He needs to try and build his passive up as much as possible. And so he's thinking, okay, I'll E in into Q. I mean, I do think the flash was a mistake. I think there's a world where he could have even flashed over the wall and maybe regrouped with Caps as a possibility, but the decision he made ended up backfiring and he ends up losing his life.
You definitely heard the montage music playing there,
I mean, it's also the first time we've seen BB on Zaahen in his career. So obviously we'll have practiced it a bunch, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, these decisions can get away from you slightly. On having a battle with a dragon, but he's okay for now. As this is kind of more what I expected from early games between these two teams, which is BLG's lanes. Knight, notwithstanding, getting ahead, right? You see Bin with a 500 gold lead, Viper with an 800 gold lead down towards that bottom side. BLG in totality 1.2k ahead.
In game 1, I think both junglers were just matching their aggression, right? Constant cross maps, constant ganks, but Mundo doesn't have that same type of agency that a Pantheon does. And so Shen is taking advantage of that. He is really looking to run the rift. A 3-1-0 scoreline. He's been involved in 75% of the team's kills, and he's just doing everything in his power to get that early lead for BLG, and he's thriving right now.
It's going to be really interesting because, when you think about it's like some of the pieces of what G2 has drafted, like Mundo just really wants to play slow and scale, but LeBlanc kind of wants to accelerate the game, and it does feel,
Caps toward another, the tower will be able to dash back.
it feels like it's going to basically end up being a poke comp, right? Like LeBlanc is, yes, you're an assassin, but really you're just playing for poke. Corki can play for poke. Bard can play, you know, really pretty low commitment engage. You know, you can kind of play at that range. They're going to be looking potentially for a dive on top side to respond to this, but BB does sniff it out.
Begins to back away, does have that Grim Deliverance, no flash for him.
Caps on his way as
Big
well.
wave underneath the tower. Broken Blade needs to try and clear this one out quickly. Shen looking for the shield vault. Looks like BLG now will go in. There's the pullback. Grim Deliverance coming out as well as Caps jumps across. Tempered Fate doesn't catch BLG. But G2 will be able to rebut the dive.
Okay, I mean, that the ult from Labrov ends up connecting onto the tower, which I think the goal was to protect Broken Blade or maybe even set up for Caps to arrive in time. But the fact that Broken Blade dodges it was like, oh, hang on, that could have gone very bad. But they end up making it work. They keep Broken Blade alive. Right now in a bit of danger.
Justice punches onto SkewMond. I don't think they have the damage to take him out. Looking to get him down low and maybe burn a flash, but Knight wisely just walks out of there.
And even though that Bard ult, you know, didn't connect, they did get the flash off of Shen. So that is a key thing. You know, if Pantheon goes in, it's generally a one-way trip without that flash, and so they are able to get that. So nice cover for Broken Blade. You definitely do not want him falling further behind. Bin was such a problem for them last game, and you really do not want to see that develop once again.
I'm looking at the gold advantage for Viper, and with the role quest completed for Hans, obviously that gold gap is going to close just a little bit. I'm going to pop the Ghost. And I think he's got Trinity Force now, which is such a big spike. Broken Blade the target.
Immediately met by Shen, and there's the Stand United to follow it up. BB doesn't have the flash, no way out. BLG punishing top lane.
It's a repeat of what they did in the JDG series. They really are attacking top lane non-stop, and we need to see G2, even if you don't want to gank up there, you got to get vision, you got to get coverage, because Broken Blade goes toward that pixel brush, and Shen is already there waiting, which is always just the worst feeling as a top laner.
There's going to be a bit of a shift in the lanes now as Caps comes to collect this wave. Hans is going to move to mid so that more damage isn't done there. Role quest being completed means that everyone can open up a little bit more. Labrov going to feel the freedom of roaming without feeling that he has to stay with Hans Sama as much. The level discrepancy between the two supports is evident, but it's on, demonstrating what we can expect, I think, from the Shen moving forward in this game.
Yeah, the ability just to beat around with a fight as he goes in for the taunt here. Magical Journey out from Labrov will get him to safety. It's a sinking feeling in my stomach a little bit as Viper is caught with a Tempered Fate. Heal coming out from On. Viper locked up for the moment as SkewMond chases him, but a good arcane shift away. On, able to dash out as well. SkewMond looks to steal away these Raptors. Broken Blade trading with Knight. And SkewMond should be able to take away the Raptors themselves. Shen there in time though, and BB now has to walk away. Pops the ultimate as well.
On played that very intelligently. You know, just played in the face of Labrov to block the binding.
Oh, Labrov. Cosmic Binding almost connects onto On, but he's able
top.
to dash away. Meanwhile, TP's coming in as G2 are being collapsed upon. BLG looking for the fight. Hans Sama jumped on by Shen. Does have the flash, won't burn it yet. Flashes away from the spear. Bin now snipping away at Labrov. The needle works, don't quite connect. BB has a flash of his own. He might have to use it to get out. Another spear from Shen behind the tower. Bin still trading in here, BLG. They're looking to make a pincer movement happen. The spear connects through Hans. Another kill. Now Caps TPing in, but BB and G2 can't really collapse themselves quickly enough. Caps jumps across the wall looking for Viper. Shen there on the front line, dashes onto Broken Blade. Oriate rush away as Viper flashes in. Gets the kill, but bound forward. The dissonance coming in from Caps as he tries to get away, but he's locked on the wrong side of the wall. And BLG, a death baller, just A-moving through G2. Skew and BB can't do anything to take down these low members of BLG.
Such a phenomenal fight for BLG. They stayed together as a clump, so aware of every single member of G2. The threat from Caps on the flank was shut down quickly by a great taunt from On, and off the back of that, G2 falls short, and now a massive gold lead for BLG in the early game.
Yeah, that taunt from On was so quick onto Caps. The instant exhaust came through from Viper as well, and BLG really handled that well as Labrov going to try to punish Knight.
Knight doesn't have flash. Cosmic Binding will find the stun. Dreaded Return gets the pullback as well. Taunt coming out from Knight as he looks to try and just delay his death here. Will manage to do it by quite a long shot as he gets back to the safety of his tower.
So we see Bin in a 1v3, turns his attention onto Labrov, knows that that's the easiest target, so he gets his flash out first. But now Broken Blade has to disengage because Bin is just so strong. The damage has already been done in the river onto Hans Sama. They're just waiting for the poke to land. And so once they get that first pick, G2 is starting to think, okay, maybe we can turn this around. But it gets tracked. They see the TP come through from Caps. They're ready. On is holding on. And then Shen just sees this as an opportunity to go in alongside Viper, who catches Labrov out.
Exactly. Viper just instant flash shift over the wall to try to catch the
went in
move
for the taunt. Tempered Fate down onto him. Shen and Viper here to defend him for now. As Shen dives onto the backline, Hans Summer needs to get away from the hero's entrance. Manages to do it with the Valkyrie, but with the Mystic shot hitting. The spear goes through his spine. BLG find another as G2 thought they had got a pick.
Nicely done there from BLG, and they want to keep fighting for more here, but Broken Blade is coming.
Has the dreaded return. SkewMond with the maximum dosage. He's going to heal himself up. Knight trying to get the Justice Punch onto BB, but there's the shutdown onto On. Will the chase continue here for G2? A magical journey? Perhaps not one that we want to take a boarding pass for, as across comes Bin on the chase. Needleworks out, getting the slows onto Skew. Dreaded return across the wall from BB. Skew has to burn his flash to escape the clutches of Bin.
BLG really wanted this red buff, and they're going to get it. They're going to walk away. It'll end up being 1-for-1 in kills. But Hans Summer, I mean, he's simply been shut down in this game. Shun has run rampant in the early game, and he's really put Bin in such a fantastic position. This man is the nightmare of the LEC and Europe, as he has such an incredible record. 16-6 is the advantage that he has over Europe in its entirety. And, oh no, this is against G2 in his history.
G2, and I will technically say 16-7 now.
It is technically 16-7.
Yeah, buddy,
indeed.
how you like them apples, man?
But I mean, right now he's in a position to carry this game, as his Gwen is monstrously far ahead.
And I mean, the average goal difference of being up about 500 gold at 14, that might have gotten better, I think, across these two games, as he has really been threatening. And Shun, again, despite the loss, I thought Shun was incredible in the last game. He's incredible again in this game, and BLG are just so good at punishing missing resources. They come, they cover for On, and then they know Hans, no summoners, instant flash in there from Shun. In comes the hero's entrance. Even with the Valk, it just doesn't matter. You can't create enough space. They're so good at constantly taxing the resources here from teams, and then knowing exactly who to target, exactly how far they can go.
Absolutely. I mean, they're continuing to punish G2, who I just think don't have damage in these skirmishes. They need the LeBlanc present because of how far behind Hans is, and especially the range from Ezreal. It feels so easy for him to just follow everything up with those Qs that just continue to hit.
Viper being truly a sniper in this game, finding those mystic shots constantly. A 3,500 gold lead for BLG. A Drake apiece, 2 items on Viper now with the Manamune and the Trinity Force. 2 items as well for Shun, and Bin has to be very close to his second as well. Went for the Oblivion Orb to try and reduce some of the healing coming out from BBM from SkewMond. But at the moment, BLG running the Rift. Control of everything they want. Next Drake still 4 minutes away, but there is a Baron if they want to try and force a fight and then take the Baron at a numbers advantage.
Caps still is very strong, though. He's on 2 completed items, is up over 1,000 gold. Has not really been able to accelerate that further, but does still have a lot of power here. The problem is there's Locket, there's double exhaust in the next fight because it's spellbooked over to. There's so many tools that make it really, really difficult for him to play the way you would want to play. And that is going to be the challenge for Caps. If you can no longer build an advantage in the 1v1 against Knight, how do you find an angle in onto Viper to really be able to take him down without getting CC'd and exhausted?
Also, you have to play around vision control when you're on something like a LeBlanc. The ability to strike from the shadow is so important. BLG doing a really good job of getting a couple of deep wards in here or there to make sure that Caps doesn't have an avenue really to approach the fight. Cosmic finally coming out from Labrov's going to magical journey away from the taunt. And for the moment, G2 just still holding on to this mid. Bin is overstepped down towards this bottom lane.
Shun does have ult to respond, though. They could actually come in with the globals.
So does Knight. They go for Bin immediately. Dreaded return. There's On with the Stand United and the Grand Starfall coming out from Shun. Broken Blade will disengage. 2 big ultimates invested. The third with the needlework from Bin. G2 will be happy enough with that exchange.
Absolutely a win for G2 there. They got a couple globals out there looking for Viper.
Well, you need those skill shots to connect to really threaten Viper, and the mobility he has on the Ezreal gives him a lot of safety. But the reason why Bin is playing this way is because he knows the support that he does have. The Shen ultimate plus the Panth ultimate proving their worth in these skirmishes, and BLG's ability to collapse is just so lethal. G2 get away with it this time. Broken Blade has to commit his flash, but it ends up being a trade of 1 flash for 2, which I guess you could say is a win for G2.
I want to say, lads, compositionally, we are getting towards mid-late game. 22 minutes. We've seen a lot of games ending, 25-30 throughout this tournament. With BLG having this lead, how do we feel team fights are likely to go from here on out? How do we feel these two teams want to butt heads?
I mean, I think it's all about how much poke can you land for G2. Can you get the LeBlanc poke in, distort forward, get this chip damage down on multiple members, hit rockets for Hans? Because I think an all-in fight is going to be won pretty heavily by BLG at this point.
I feel like that Viper is kind of untouchable. They don't really have the range to go onto him. As you said, it's like very reliant on caps. And then on top of that, Taunt connects.
Goes in for the taunt. There's the follow-up with the CC, and Labrov not given a chance to move. Shen goes unstoppable as G2 try and collapse onto Bin, but with the Hallowed Return and the TP coming in from Knight, they just can't do it. BB does have a teleport of his own to try and escape this situation, but BLG do not want to give him that luxury. Broken Blade, there's no real way out for you. The question is who will be given over the kill. Justice Punch coming down on, looking for the taunt as well as BB's taunted under the tower. Meanwhile, SkewMond trading with Shen in that red buff area. G2 unable to win out on that fight either.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like they had caught Shen in transition, but Viper is there to support, and Viper and Shen are just way too strong to really deal with at this point in the game. So BLG definitely starting to run away with it. Going to be able to get even more gold here onto Viper. You just look at these leads across the board. It's kind of Caps versus the world, but compositionally, his champion is just going to have such a tough time in this game.
Caps actually dishes out some decent damage onto Bin. He's getting to that point in the game where he can be a threat, but the amount of control, the agency that BLG have, this game feels so difficult for G2 to bounce back into, largely because of how far behind Hansama has been put. This Corki really does not compare to the damage that Viper's able to execute, and that doesn't even bring into the conversation of just a side lane threat. The TPs, the Galio ult, the ability of BLG simply to collapse feels so oppressive that G2 have no answers.
And I've just really loved how Shen has played this game right from level 1.
Yeah.
He's saying, you're playing Mundo, you want to just chill, farm, you want the game to be slow. We're going to create action. We're going to invade you at every turn. We're going to force you to respond. If you don't defend your laners, I'm going to chain dive them. You got to be there to hover. You can't be farming these camps on repeat. And it's slowing down SkewMond so much that Mundo can become this brick wall where he can't be hurt, but not in a game pace like this, where, you know, people on the other team are so accelerated and you're constantly being pulled in every direction.
BLG doing such a good job there. Playing through Shen in the early game and then allowing their laners just to take those advantages and run with them. A 2k lead for Bin on that top side. Has finished the Massive Tooth now. Viper on his way to his third item as well. For BLG, really, you have to feel they can just suffocate G2 off the map. Do exactly what they've been doing over the last few moments. If G2 overextend, sure, we'll find a pick, we'll find a kill. And that's exactly what On's looking to do on Labrov. The magical journey away from Labrov will land the cosmic binding. Caps jumping across with the chains, but will just distort back. BLG, even though Bin is caught out a little bit, going a little bit too greedily, can just all walk away.
How clean is that? Mikhail's the one taunt flash. That was sick from Labrov. The timing on that Mikhail's to just be able to walk out and say, thanks for the flash, bud.
Stand United was used on Shen.
Yeah, so it looked like that the timing was a bit off because Shen arrived bot lane, but Shen went to where Pantheon started.
Oh, I was, yeah, because
So
I was like, why is he in mid right now?
Yeah, so the timing was a bit off. It seems like that they wanted to try and make a play onto Broken Blade.
He was late, left on the tarmac
Yeah,
already.
literally, the plane took off.
He's
and
just
he
waving
was-
goodbye.
That's pretty much what happened.
Enjoy the shield!
Well, BLG, they have the Dragon advantage, the Gold advantage, and they'll likely start sending their sights onto Baron. Not that they need to force it, but the threat, the pressure. Because again, the thing about globals is that, okay, we're going to push bot, we're going to push bot, we're going to push bot. You come and try and send someone, we can then immediately transition to the other side of the map. And the pressure that Bin is able to generate, especially now that he's about to, there it is, the level 16, 3 points in his ultimate, is now devastating on the side lane.
Bin going to get chained up by Caps. Still that damage pretty substantial. Labrov caught out though by Shen and on and with the hero's entrance. Labrov gets into the magical journey just in time. Shen's going to get cosmic binding, but should still have the damage. Hits him with a spear, and G2 lose their support once again.
It feels as though G2 just have no agency in the game. They don't really get to decide anything. It's all BLG. And as much as Labrov tries to contest vision, BLG is so quick at coming to collapse. Baron is a consideration, but it looks like they're not going to start that one off.
And this is kind of what I'm talking about. You know, it's easy to sit there and say, well, Labrov shouldn't be dying. SkewMond needs to walk with him to get vision. But if all Mundo is doing is walking around clearing wards, you are useless. You need economy on this champion. You need to power farm. You got to get to 16. And Shen is just giving him no ability to do that. Shen and On, they don't need gold. They just need to fight.
It's the classic, play safe, bro. He's like, I'm in my half of the rift, buddy. I'm playing bot, and he does his best to get out of there, but there is just too much of a commitment. The Galio ultimate as well, doing so much work. And again, like, these globals from BLG are netting such a huge advantage. Viper completes his third item, and BLG continue to get stronger.
G2 desperate as well. Magical journey in on, taunts away, then the tempered fate for the follow-up. not getting anything out of it. BLG now do have an opportunity to play around that ultimate being down, and they're going to go down towards the bottom lane with the Grand Starfall. GA on Shen, no real escape for BB. Dreaded Return will get the CC, goes in with Grim Deliverance as well, but doesn't have that Cultivation of War passive fully built up. He'll try and stack it on Knight for now. The taunt's going to land. There is the Resurrection, and a TP coming in as well from Bin. I'm not sure his services were required here. Perhaps they just want to give him the kill, as Knight did start his recall. Broken Blade taken down in the end by 3 of BLG.
Looked a little bit weird. You know, it looked like they were trying to kite out the passive stacks to not let him revive, but they could have just insta-proc the passive with Shen. Maybe they were nervous about reinforcements that were coming in, had the wrong read, because even the TP seemed like way overkill.
I think they were nervous about damage. Like, Galio is full magic resist right now, and he does not have a huge amount of threat onto the Zaahen.
What about the Spearman, though?
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Sky Black Cleaver GA.
But I mean, they TP'd in clearly because they were worried about what Broken Blade could do in that situation. Perhaps it was too much respect, but it doesn't matter because there is no cross-map play for G2. Caps can do very little to stop the onslaught of Bin in a side lane. There was no Baron risk on the side as well. And BLG just continue to find pick after pick. Their third dragon in a minute's time.
The gold lead extends to 6k as they steal away this red buff. Caps looking for the flank, dives in, will land the chains onto On. Viper with the arcane shift, trying to keep Caps at bay as the Bob caught out. With the magical journey going out, he'll land that Tempered Fate, but Bin able to dash away across from it. On in the middle of it, gets away himself as Caps has to get out of the fight. Dreaded Return from Broken Blade towards Shen, but Shen still has that Guardian Angel. And G2, they're trying to pick apart this composition from BLG, but they just don't have enough.
I mean, double exhaust came through, and it makes LeBlanc's life so much harder when you lose all of your damage. Like, BLG feel that they are unkillable right now. G2 do not have the damage to take any of them out.
I just love how Viper has played this. I mean, I think taking the exhaust was so intelligent. It's basically allowing him, when Caps goes in, he exhausts him and he shifts on his head because Caps can't win that 1v1 anymore. Caps has to distort back. You know, Viper did use both his summoners though, so that is something that you can look towards punishing. But, you know, as they go forward here, Viper is going to look to get aggressive onto Caps. You know, he's going over the wall. Bin has a really nice skip and slash to avoid that ultimate, and then there is that exhaust down onto him, and he's just running in, even flashing. He thought that clone was Caps, so that is something definitely working for G2.
I like it. We're making it super hard for them.
There's a famous quote from an ex-G2 mid laner. Said, even if we lose, let's make him sweat. And it seems like that's what G2 were trying to do in this game.
It's one of those intangibles, right, where even if it looks like this game is over, the mental taxation of just making it harder. It's a long series, right? If BLG do win this, they go 1-1, the ulti drops.
Starfall in from Shen, and with on there, flash taunt onto Labrov. A magical journey. Well, that's not a cruise I ever want to take. Tempered Fate down on Shen, but Labrov falls for the 6th time this game. On has had his number.
Yeah, they've just been chasing him around the map here. Labrov doing his best to make it tough for him, but does end up getting taken down. And BLG just continuing to play the same style, constantly hunting this Bard as he goes for vision. And they're likely to set up around this Baron, clear out some vision, and they can look towards Soul. That is going to be a big one.
And they'll jump onto SkewMond. Caps has snuck into this bush. Spear out from Shen once again. Broken Blade is going to have to deal with Knight as Caps dives forward, but BLG rebuts him immediately.
I mean, look at the damage that was dealt to Caps there. I mean, when you lose like 30% of your HP, you're going to be forced away. You're going to be deterred. The Baron hasn't been started yet, though. BLG still respecting the comeback potential that G2's comp does still have. But like the later this game goes, I just don't see how it gets easier for G2. I feel like it only gets harder as Viper can leverage his range to chip away at your HP. The amount of protection that comes through against the single target damage that G2's comp largely has. It feels like that, as G2 was saying, that their goal in this game is to just make it as difficult as possible for BLG to close things out.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. It doesn't get easier, but at the same time, I mean, Deathcap is done. You know, you have Magic Pen already in for Caps, and yeah, Viper did get his maw, but sometimes you just find that one moment. If he can get a pick, if he can get a kill, it could turn the game.
Well, Bin trying to trade back onto Caps, who dashes back. There's the Stand United, and Shen's on his way as well. Caps doesn't have the flash, torn it up, will dash with the distortion, but there's only a tower waiting for him. Dashes back, misses the chains on. SkewMond tries to come across, but On will take the kill. BLG beginning to kill off G2's only strong link.
Exactly. The hope that is existing for G2 gets shut down as Caps, he goes for a trade, but when you get a trade like that, you've committed all of your mobility. A nice punish, and again, these globals have just been so impactful for BLG here in this game. And I have to echo your sentiment from earlier, Azael, which is that Shen really has just run the rift here in Game 2.
Shen and On together, I feel. Have done an incredible job on these pocket picks as well. His Anivia, his Shen, his Camille, just has so much agency on the map.
I mean, it gives you a lot of value in draft too, because it's really frustrating. You can't just ban the meta. You can't just prepare in the same ways that you would against other teams, because you always have to take these things into consideration. Yeah, he's only played the Anivia twice this year, but it's in the back of your mind. Yeah. If you were considering a melee-heavy comp, you're now like, well, can we go it? Is this Anivia support gonna screw our draft? You know, there's a lot of value in pocket picks simply because of the weight of them in a draft.
Now BLG setting up around the Baron. 2 minutes before the soul for them. Cloud. G2 have been on a life support for a long time at this game as BLG look to pull the plug. Magical Journey out from Labrov. Viper doing the damage, but they are trying to jump onto him. He's able to dash away. Caps caught in the hero's entrance and can't make an exit. Broken Blade on the backline will get the shutdown onto Viper, but now BLG are in a 4v2. Hunsama trying to rejoin the fray. Grim Deliverance coming out. There's a cultivation of war passive as well, but they just can't get out of this CC chain. BLG lock them up and throw away the key. Only SkewMond and Hans can survive, and BLG with 4 will turn their eyes towards the Baron.
Caps was obliterated, Hans was taken out of the fight. BLG play with perfection. Viper does end up losing his life, but it is a short cost to allow for Bin, who is pretty much untouched throughout the entirety of it. They wipe G2 off the map, they set their sights on the Baron, and it's G2 fishing, as they've often done in this game, and BLG going in with nothing but confidence.
Yeah, and it's this TP from Bin coming in behind them as Viper used the exhaust in onto Hans, so Caps goes aggressive, but he just gets CC'd up, and once Bin arrives, there is no shot. Hans is pushed immediately out of the fight, even though Broken Blade gets the shutdown, gets the passive stacked. Unfortunately, the Grim Deliverance doesn't really heal him because he's already into that revive. And then look at the CC. It's just never ending. Multiple taunts. There's the knockup from the Galio. There's the stun from the Pantheon. The CC just getting layered perfectly. And Broken Blade doesn't get to press a button.
As soon as you're in that meat grinder, as soon as you're there as a melee, unless you have Caps and Hunsama able to actually unleash from the outside, you're just locked up. There's no way you're ever going to be able to do anything. As Viper looks at Arcane Shift across the wall, the taunt onto SkewMond will land as well. Didn't have his passive up as Caps tries to jump onto that backline, but once again, it's on, sitting on Viper saying, yes, come in, I'll take the taunt, and we'll go in with the Justice Punch. Grim Deliverance as they try and get the chase on. Caps goes in, but the more shield alongside the hero's entrance, enough to keep Viper alive, and now Hunsama has to Valkyrie away as BLG continue to chase. Here comes the star fall, and the star that was Hunsama falls off the rift. G2 lose another in mid.
And just the Avengers from BLG, they're flying in out of nowhere, left, right, and center. More and more shields, more and more reinforcements. Has Viper there shot the two-shot barrage the wrong way, and you think, hey, maybe he's going to be threatened. Then there's the Stand United. Then there's the hero's entrance. More and more shields getting piled in onto him. As you can see in the priceless moment of the game there from MasterCard, the soul has been claimed. This has been an action-packed game. They're constantly chasing G2 around the rift, and now they have that much more power. And when you think about a champion like Gwen, one of the best users of Cloud Soul in the game.
I mean, what an incredible performance from BLG. The way that they have navigated this fight are flawless as they set their sights on a SkewMond.
The taunt into the Aegis Assault for the movement speed so they could get the shield bot onto SkewMond, but SkewMond does have that maximum dosage. On has to get away. Shen will fall into his GA. Knight still very tanky, and Viper coming across. Bin on the flank as well as G2 now need to run for the hills, but SkewMond getting locked up for the moment. BLG not able to get much more than Mundo's ultimate.
I will say a bit of an overcommitment there from BLG. It was fortunate that they had numbers to collapse first.
Tempered Fate on Viper. Will they go for the follow-up? There's the stun. Grim Deliverance on falling low. Viper falls first. And now BLG are the ones on the retreat. Caps trying to get onto that backline. Broken Blade going for more. His first ever Zaahen game, and he pulls on back. Bin now snipping through Hunsama. Caps falling as well as Bin. He's able to get onto the backline, but he's shut down. G2 now in a 3v1 as only the Knight stands, but he bows to Broken Blade.
Wait a minute! What just happened? With the gold lead that BLG had, it felt like that this composition was immovable. They couldn't get through it, but a single Tempered Fate set off the fight for G2 to take.
It's this aggressive shift from Viper. He shifts forward, gets tagged by the very edge of it from Labrov, and they full send it. Yeah, Hans is behind, but he has an IE. He has 4 items. You will hurt. They burst down Viper, and BLG immediately realized, we gotta run. We can't take this fight. The health bars are low. It's really only been taking down Hans that stops us from being a total disaster, because if Hans lives, that is Baron for sure. So that was a critical
It's
kill.
already gone. Baron was gone. No, as in BLG had the
of course. But they're back to life.
Oh, Broken Blade caught out here. Good deliverance coming out as well. With the Dreaded Return, he will get the Cultivation of War, but the rest of G2 are nowhere near helping him. BLG looks like they used
Does he win
the
this?
Stand United Grand Starfall combo. And Vedi, you were wondering if he could win. The answer, unfortunately for EU fans, is no, as BLG will take the kill.
That is very close, but G2 making them work for it here, and that is what I'm talking about. In games like this, you get late enough into the game, it only takes one pick. It only takes one misstep, because the lethality late in the game is so high on champions like this. It's like, yeah, Viper's ahead 1K, but who cares? Hans gets 2 autos with an IE and a full build. You can kill off Viper, so you gotta be careful. BLG still with a big edge here, but G2 showing they still got some claws in this game.
Yeah, the biggest concern for BLG is that this turns into an Elder flip. With the control they have over the Rift and the way that they've been consistently finding picks, I don't think they want to give that opportunity for G2. So they're going to go back to their winning ways, get vision control, fish for a pick themselves as they set their sights on this bot tier 2.
Should just be able to take the tower down. There's the taunt onto SkewMond. Maximum dosage has to be used, but the CC chain continues. Tempered Fate out as G2 look to try and turn the play. Cosmic Binding will get the stun, but the chase for Shen goes in with a shield vault. And at the moment, without their jungler, G2 can't really contest. BLG continue their advances.
That is exactly the right play, though. Find those picks. You know you have the numbers advantage because Broken Blade hasn't respawned, and so instead they catch SkewMond out, staying way too long to protect that bot tower. They're committed to breaking open this inhibitor, and they're sending everything to find more.
It's a Starfall hunt. Someone cleansed him. The chaos away as they look to try and turn it, but BB in the midst of BLG will fall first. BLG now advancing. A small blip in the top side is not enough to fell the kings of the LPL. They want to even out the series as Caps tries to dive in, dashes away from the shield bolt. Now it's on Labrov and Hans. Hans will flash and get the kill on, but BLG have already opened up the Nexus, and although Viper will fall, G2's Nexus will follow him to the grave. 1-1 in the finals.
In a tournament full of 3-0s, we are having an incredible start to the finals here. 1-1, both teams looking so strong. Lounge, what do you think?
We said that this series was going to be a bloodbath, and so far it is delivering now. I have one question. BLG showed up in this game and was like, how much global do you want? The answer is yes.
Yeah, I know. Gwen is the only one who doesn't... We're counting Ezreal, right?
Because they're all going to bin in the side lane.
Yeah. So, I mean, I talked about